Cool. I guess I can just really quickly start just by providing a bit of a TLDR on how these usually run. For everyone who's new in the audience, usually what happens here is we just provide a little bit of a brief introduction on the foundation end, usually ping some questions to either Immutable Lawyer, Dimitar, Valentin, just about everything that's been happening at the operations subDAO over the past month or two, and of recent as well, more importantly. And then usually just open the floor to a lot of questions that can come in from anyone in the audience, and usually just allow Immutable, Dimitar, or Valentin to just razz on everything that they've been working on and probably fill you in with loads of interesting updates. As usual, if you can keep the questions like not related to the operations subDAO largely to the end, or just post them in the general channels, that'd be great. If we can keep them primarily to the operations subDAO today, that'd be awesome, as I'm sure there's a ton of interesting things that can be asked and get answered by the team up here. I'll record this as usual, and then we'll post it on YouTube after. And so for anyone who is going to ask any questions yet, just be aware that this will be recorded and posted publicly on YouTube and on the Discord. So cool. I guess we can open it up to you guys on the stage here, Immutable, Dimitar, Valentin, on anything that you want to get kick-started with.
Yep. So by way of an update, following our previous AMA, there is the second batch of enforcers notes on our Notion website. You can also find the link to them on the dYdX forum. There's a separate post in the operations subDAO sort of section there. Basically documenting the transactions, the reasoning for the transactions, where there any conflict of interest that were screened. Trustees naturally will not be allowed to sign off on those, but basically the process at play for those transactions, the reasoning, the transaction hash, and all that stuff. Basically, you find the consolidated version and all the details ancillary to a transaction on those enforcers notes. So that's by way of update number one. Valentin and Dimitar and the trustees actually did a fantastic job drafting the procurement process for the indexers. You can also find that on the dYdX forum. There's a sort of TLDR on the forum post, and then there are the relevant links that you can access the full procurement process for. We're also maybe thinking of applying this procurement process for other sections where we will require procurement from an operations subDAO perspective. So if you guys have any feedback on that, or whether you'd be open from a community perspective to applying this even to those further sections, please feel free to post your feedback. There are likes on the post, but there aren't any feedback comments. Positive, negative, constructive. Feel free to post your thoughts. We'd be happy to take them on, even schedule calls with certain members who would have certain suggestions. And by way of a last update, and you'll be hearing less of me on this particular MA, we have finally hired our technical project lead, which is Dimitar, and operations lead, being Valentin. We're also in the maybe, possibly, potentially, and hopefully final stages of hiring an SRE. But we'll be announcing that in the coming days or on the next day AMA, once we have that finalized as well, even from an agreement perspective. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Dimitar and Valentin to introduce themselves, give a bit of a background in relation to the role as well. And yeah, take it over, guys.
Thanks, Dimitar. Actually, Valentin is listed first, so Val, would you like to go first?
You can go ahead.
All right, good. Thanks. So hi all. My name is Dimitar. I've recently started as a technical project lead here. I'm really excited to be joining dYdX. I'll share some background for me professionally, but just to say that it sounds like a great opportunity, and really grateful to be joining forces here. Historically, I started my career back in 2008 as a developer. That was long before crypto, not only for me. But yeah, during my career, I have also experienced leadership. I've been engineering manager for quite a long time, 5 years, I think. And professionally, I was on crypto sidelines for quite some time before joining a service company in 2021. So this is when I started to get my hands really dirty, both with leadership stuff and with coding. And yeah, now I'm really happy to be more focused, really happy to be delivering or building on something that is with good purpose, and really happy to be here. Joining as a technical project lead with subDAO, this is quite an interesting opportunity, quite an interesting position. we will be doing a lot of things around before operations, and I'm really looking forward to defining further on how this will roll out. Valentin, that's you now.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Valentin. I joined as the operations lead. I'm really excited about this opportunity. A little background on myself. I'm a mechanical engineer that turned operations manager. I've been in startup operations for about 6 years now. I've been involved in crypto since 2020. I was really excited by the technology, wanted to understand how it works, how blockchains work, how smart contracts work, and then I kind of stayed for the organizational possibilities. So really excited about DAOs, how DAOs coordinate. The decentralized coordination is really interesting to me. So that's why I'm very excited about the opportunity to shape the DOT. And I'm really happy to be part of this journey with you all.
We might add in some personal data as well. Valentin, what do you think? I'm based in Bulgaria, CST +1, so Europe time zones. That's really. I live here and was born here.
I'm from Italy, CET, father of 2 little kids. So yeah. Obviously, if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot. I will also post a Calendly link for myself and provide 4 slots per week for community one-on-ones. If anybody wants to kind of ask me a couple of questions.
That's a great idea. And as Immutable said, the indexer procurement process is on the forum, so any feedback would be really great. Official process that we publish. So it'd be great if you can spare some time to read it through and give us anything back.
Nice work on publishing that procurement process. It's really in depth. Exciting to see the kind of standard that this set's going forward. I guess it would be helpful to know and interesting to know just kind of what does day-to-day look like for you guys? Like what's the main focus kind of going forward, and just a bit of a look under the hood as such in terms of like what's happening at an operations subDAO level.
Oh, V4 mainnet launch now. This is we are going to be supporting this to a really big extent. So we need to ramp up. We need to prepare to deploy the necessary infrastructure for it, and to be ready to go live when the time comes. At least this is like my top priority right now, and the things that I'm doing on day-to-days are primarily focused on this. Also, some stuff about setting up the DAO itself, along with Valentin, who is leading this pretty solidly.
Yeah, thank you, Dimitar, for the mention. Yeah, that is day-to-day is probably difficult to say right now, just because we are setting up a lot of the systems, how the DOT will be providing infrastructure, setting up credit cards and accounts and stuff like that, drafting a lot of policies for procurement, spending policies. I'm rethinking the documentation. We want to overhaul the website so we can document more in detail what we're doing and publicly, so that everybody can basically watch live what we're working on. That's broadly speaking, my focus is to make sure I can support Dimitar and the SRE, who's hopefully joining soon, in accomplishing providing the infrastructure. And I will also make sure that all of that is happening in a transparent fashion, and that the accounting is transparent and publicly available, and that we are able to communicate everything that we do effectively to all of you.
Awesome. That's exciting. And then, so you guys, when did you start the roles, I guess, per se? Like, when were you full-time employed? When did that position start for you? And then touching on the kind of SRE hiring, kind of what's the latest on that front?
We both started on the last Tuesday. So it's not been a week. And on the SRE front, we extended an offer to a candidate. We're waiting for them to accept. So we'll know, I hope, by the end of this week. But obviously, that depends on the candidate. So yeah, that's
that.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Yeah, well, it's not easy to find the right person. So we are hoping that what we have set our eyes on will be carried out to the end, as Dimitar mentioned in the beginning as well. My involvement actually started a little earlier. So I started with Dots, of course, on 15th. Before that, I was briefly with Foundation. I actually participated as a contractor. I participated in Nebular. I did a workshop there as well. So there was I had a little more time to acknowledge to get to know before and dYdX before officially joining Dot, as Valentin said, on 15th. It was last Tuesday, I think.
Yep, nice work hitting the ground running, both of you. It's exciting to see the progress and the best priorities that you guys are kind of putting towards and making the P0 towards V4. Anything else you wanted to touch on regarding the role, the ops trust, DAO more broadly, or should we open it up to a few questions that may come in?
Well,
regarding, sorry, Dimitar, please go ahead.
It's quite exciting to actually set up a DAO and work for a DAO. It doesn't seem like something that has been done over and over again too many times. So yeah, there's many things coming our way that are from the realm of uncertainty. So yeah, I think that any feedback from the community at any point in time will be really valuable for all of us at the Dots, because it's such a new setup. At least for me, it's such a new setup. So it'd be great if we can shape this thing as a community.
Yeah, I can only second that. I really do see us, the team of the Dot, as servers to the community. So if there's anything you guys have a comment on or think we should be doing or doing differently, please share that opinion with us. And main priorities for me for the Dot are supporting V4 launch and being able to run the community-owned infrastructure in a sustainable and functional fashion.
And transparent as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and then that's it.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. It's obviously mentioning it like that, it sounds like a small feat, but it's no small feat in the sense that you'll be hosting, I guess, the exchange as is, the front end to it, and I think it's a huge undertaking. So kudos for being optimistic and hitting the ground running on that side of things. I know you mentioned about kind of like making this transparent and finding your feet in terms of being employed through a DAO. I guess I know you've only been 1 week into this kind of role, but what's your initial thoughts on sort of, or can you give any advice to anyone who wants to be a contributor to a DAO, the ops subDAO, the grant subDAO, whatever subDAO it is? Any sort of thoughts or advice you can give to anyone?
Coffee, a lot of coffee.
Yeah, the good one as well. No, but it should be approached as building a team. Trustees, enforcer, participants, everyone should consider themselves as one team. So taking the time to establish one-on-one connections, taking the time to establish the rules, how we make decisions, and building all this trust layer, that's, I think, crucial. And I think that we are getting there quite all right, quite well, with setting our expectations to one another, to building this as a team, because in practice it is a team. I know the roles are different. I know that trustees have a really different role to, I don't know, a board of directors or whatever. Thing is, we do need to know what is it, why is each decision made, where is it coming from, and how it's formed, and yeah, to have this easier way internally to move forward. That's my 50 cents.
Yeah, I tend to just to build off a bit on that. I think the sort of pleasure I've had, even though it's not even been a week, as Valentin and Dimitar said, was the sort of pleasure I've had thus far with working with these independent contractors is that I think there was a collective effort to be on the same page as soon as possible. There is this sort of looming deadline at play, and they made a lot of individual efforts to, see what was carried out thus far, even from a legal standpoint, from a trust standpoint, from a technical standpoint, the hiring processes, etc., etc. So they endeavored a lot to, get a bit of context in relation to what we were doing even before they were hired, which was very good to see from my end, especially. And yeah, I think as Dimitar mentioned, it's a team effort after all. I mean, we all have our respective roles, but the beauty of it thus far, and I'll call it the beauty in a sense, because we are people that have never met physically. But the beauty of it thus far is that, where anyone has an issue, anyone, encounters an obstacle, everyone asks publicly on our public Slack channels, for all the trustees, enforcer, and other independent contractors to see, asks for opinions, even, everyone gives their input, and, we reach a decision in a collective manner. Everyone, gives their naturally suggestions in relation to certain things. And, I think that's the beauty of maybe contributing to this particular sort of endeavor from a even trust perspective, from this future DAO perspective, is that, that collective effort towards achieving this particular goal that we have in mind at the moment is being achieved through this, team effort that I think it's very good to see. It's very good to see. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to this extent, but it's been great thus far. And we hope to receive more community feedback, as Dimitar and Valentin mentioned. I think we see a lot of feedback and comments on when certain negative things happen. But, I'd like to start seeing more of that feedback and more of those comments, even when, positive developments happen. I think that goes hand in hand with, community participation, and with community participation, you progressively decentralize, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I think it's been a great effort thus far, and we'll continue building off of what we have now.
Yeah, and I think one thing maybe to also double down on and explain to people is just the extent by which, I guess, all of you are really shaping this at the same time. I don't think anyone really understands the level of effort, work, time that it really takes to build out something to host the real infrastructure of the DAO. It might be worth just spending a bit of time just highlighting kind of the actual time and effort that is going into this, kind of external to, say, the independent contributors as well, Joseph, just from a trustee and enforcer standpoint.
Yeah, I think actually something that I was very pleased to see, and I'll mention this even by way of kudos to the person, is that when I had my initial one-on-one, both with Valentin and with Dimitri, they actually completely related to the importance of being very transparent, being very diligent in how we carry out our tasks and our scope. Now, naturally, the position of myself as being part of the trust and them being independent contractors of it may be a bit different from a legal standpoint, but again, it's a collective team effort towards achieving this goal of launching V4. But yeah, I think when it all boils down, I think we can go on eulogies as to how to progressively decentralize and, attract contributors and all that stuff, which has been done on the forums in the past. But I think it all boils down to transparency, and both of these guys that we have on board, even though they're independent contractors, I think they took this really to heart in the sense that, they enshrined this sort of element of transparency in their work thus far. Even, again, it's not even been a week, but, I was very pleased to speak with Valentin, for example, and the first thing he suggested, without even myself prompting it, was that he wants to document everything as much as possible, make it public on the Notion website, update the current documentation, update the current website to reflect the current state of things. So I think what we're trying to achieve, it's a balance between community and the legal structure you have in place, and reducing the information asymmetry between the two, so that the community is on the same page with the legal entity, the trust in this case, And the trust itself, the members thereof, and the independent contractors are on the same page as well. And I think we're doing a great job thus far at reducing that information asymmetry, having good documentation in place. Valentin will be working on a lot of the documentation, which is more community facing as well. So that's something to look forward to. And yeah, I think from a DAO perspective and infrastructure perspective, it all boils down to active communication. Very simple again, but I think it's something that maybe was lacking in the past. But I think we're endeavoring and making strides and efforts to sort of rectify this and set an example. I think we are already setting a bit of an example, and I look forward to continue setting a standard as to how things should function. And I think we have the sort of members in place to achieve that goal.
Good to hear. That's awesome. And then Dimi, Valentin, just I guess it'd be awesome to hear just from a community standpoint of like what truly kind of incorporates some of the technical and operational, I guess, capacities of hosting a front end, like deploying the indexer. Like, what are some of the technicalities that the community should be aware of about what you guys are really focusing on?
Right. Well, Val, you want to go?
No, please. The technical details I'll leave that for the technical project manager.
The deployment itself. Well, we have to approach this as a software that's built by trading, because that's what it is, and this leaves a lot of gaps for us to discover ourselves and a lot of things for us to actually try to prepare as best as we can, and then kind of roll with the error messages if you want once deployment date comes. This is why we are doing so much right now in terms of preparing, and so much right now in terms of trying to figure out what the system will look like in the end. It's not impossible, it's quite doable, quite feasible if we manage to have a couple of runs before the mainnet. This is why we are probably going to do at some point. We're going to host a testnet ourselves, or going to experiment with the publicly available source code once it becomes publicly available. I would say that for me personally, it's pretty much 70% hands-on right now, and 30% planning and preparing for the future. So yeah, I don't know if you managed to answer your question, James, but my focus is quite skewing towards imagining how the mainnet will roll out, and how we will be actually hosting the whole thing ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's really helpful. Sorry,
So,
Valentin.
and from my perspective, the thing that I'm covering is kind of coordinating the back office of all of this, providing that we can subscribe to the necessary services, start procurement processes where necessary, and document pending decisions if we want to host something on AWS, for example. We need to pay AWS and stuff like that. So the back office side of those technical aspects, as well as a immutable lawyer mentioned, starting out on the documentation, just because I know keeping up with the documentation is really important. Otherwise, if you get a large backlog of stuff to document, then the documentation suffers. So I really want to prevent that from happening and get a head start on that.
That makes sense. Thanks for covering those 2 points. Cool. Shall we open up the floor to some questions?
No worries. Also, as a minor announcement, myself, I think Dimitar, Valentin, and potentially even the prospective SR hire will be at Cosmoverse. So if you guys want to naturally attend Cosmoverse, come to the dYdX booth, discuss anything in person, and even meet in person. It will be a pleasure to meet certain committee members physically for once, instead of either on the forums or through Discord. But yeah, just by way of minor announcement, we look forward to seeing you guys at Cosmoverse and discussing even physically certain things in person. Sorry, not physically. That could give a connotation like we're gonna have a boxing match or something. But yeah, we look forward to discussing the subDAO in person, and even by then we'll be having a lot more updates, and so we look forward to that as well.
Awesome. It'll be good to see you guys there. A few of us will be going as well, so that'll be awesome. Yeah, and if anyone in the community is going, yeah, that'll be great to connect IRL for once. As I know it's been a long-standing journey of digital interactions. I guess one from me, which might be a little bit far out, to be fair, and you might need to find your feet and have more long-term discussions, but is there any kind of view on like further hiring? Obviously, you had the mandate to hire 3 independent contractors. Has there been any discussion on the long-term focus of the DOT, providing it's successful? It's probably early days, but curious if you guys have had sort of like, thought discussions around this.
Yeah, I think thus far, fitting with the current mandate, the hiring of the SRE, the technical project lead, and the operations lead. But I think it's more from a service provider standpoint that will be sort of, I wouldn't call it hiring, but soliciting services from. I think with these 3 guys at play, we'll be covering a lot of the bases from both, as Valentin mentioned, the back-end office, so to speak, perspective and the technical perspective. But yeah, we do not naturally preclude the possibility of, not having service providers at play to even assist with certain tasks. We are a team of right now we're like 7, and with the other independent contractor will be 8 persons, basically helping launch the infrastructure for a decentralized derivatives exchange. So yeah, I think it's more recruiting services than anything else. I think we do have the key people in place right now, but anything can happen, and we could change the mandate, make a trust amendment, and obviously pass it through governance. That we will need a certain person to have more allocated hours, and thus it would be best to have someone as an independent contractor, for example. But that's why we do not foresee that there will be such a scenario at play. But again, this industry is ever changing, needs are ever changing, so that could potentially arise. But yeah, right now we're looking more from a service provider perspective. So, for example, in relation to an SRE, it's a big responsibility, and having maybe external service providers on an on-call basis. This is something we discussed at length. Both the trustees and even with independent contractors could be benefited to sort of have that backstop for that particular responsibility. Just again, having the necessary safeguards in place, having a plan A, a plan B, and going to see even a plan C, so that everything goes smoothly. So I think, yeah, that's where we're currently at from a manpower perspective, so to speak. Yeah.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah. Seconding to what Dimitar said, well, I don't think that many teams have hosted dYdX before so far. So we'll have to learn, what's there for us to provide as operational services, and definitely we'll have to make a choice whether we utilize service providers for many of the operation part or not. So yeah, basically what Dimitar said.
Yeah, maybe RV has a question. I saw him typing. His questions are usually interesting, so let's see.
Good question.
Never mind.
I tell you what, quick sort of related post is the foundation just recently pushed out a take on good practices for validators and stakers. I know the DOT will play a little bit of role with validators, so it will be worth the community having a read through this and providing their 2 cents and feedback on this post. It went out about an hour ago. Ultimately, just providing sort of not a step-by-step manual, but it's more so, hey, these are some of the things that we think would be good for the dYdX chain for validators to uphold to. Again, it's not we want validators to approach it this particular way, but it's more so from a lot of conversations that we've had over the last couple of months with potential validators whom both we've met in real life at Paris and we've conducted some interviews there. So so yeah, feel free to check that out. Would love to hear the community's comments on this and whether they think we should be adding a few more things, or if there's any contentious points that we've posted there, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, I need to slow down when I speak as well. I think maybe a concluding point as well. There are a lot of interesting posts at the moment. I think the foundation also published another post in relation to, I forgot the topic exactly, but last week. But yeah, I think my last call to arms, so to speak, will be to, participate as much as possible, post your opinions, don't be scared if maybe, they're either inapplicable, they may be incorrect, just post it. And, we'll have a constructive discussion in relation to your feedback. And yeah, I think we've had a lot of community participation in the past, as I previously said, in relation to certain maybe negative scenarios. And I think now is the time to actually have that very active community participation, because even speaking from an ops perspective, sometimes we do have discussions even internally, and we're like, maybe a third party point of view would be beneficial here, just to get a bit of an outside of the box thinking. So yeah, I think the last call to arms, so to speak, would be participate, post your comments, post your feedback, post your criticism. It will all be discussed. It will all be, taken on where it's applicable, and where we find out that, listen, this is right, we made a mistake here. So yeah, I think participate as much as possible on all forum types, on all forum posts, sorry. There's also a post today, again, unrelated to us, but from Karen in relation to bridging. So a very important, pivotal, I think, upgrade to the current stack. So yeah, participate as much as possible, and we look forward to your comments on the forum.
100%, completely agree with you. Cool.
Yeah, I can only second that. Thank you, Joseph, for the closing comment. And if anybody should have questions for me, please feel free to reach out to me. At any time.
Brilliant. And then just confirming, this is going to be kind of a bi-weekly regular AMA with you guys anyway. That will hopefully just set up a recurring one that can that you guys are going to be active in. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep, that would be great.
Fantastic. Yep. Anything else from you guys up here before we close it down? Okay, brilliant. Well, kudos, guys, for really getting this process started. I think everyone, myself and all the community included, really value the kind of open discourse with regards to what you're currently working on, open to criticism, open to feedback, both positive and negative. I think it's definitely a great precedent to set, and really excited to see the impact you all have over the next few months, especially in the build up to this potential mainnet that's touted to be live in the next 2 months or so. So super exciting times. I'm aware of all the hard work you guys are putting in also. So yeah, keep up the great work, and I guess we'll have the next one in a couple of weeks.
Sounds great.
Thank you, James.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, James, and thanks to all of you.
Thanks, Valentin. Thanks.
See you then.
Cheers, Immutable. Thanks for everyone coming.
Cheers. Good day. Bye.